welcome to DudeCast TV. I'm your host, Norman Dexter, where I'm a dude who's going to talk about some shit. It's another Monday, another podcast. And I gotta say, I woke up this morning really not wanting to make one of these. However, I do know that I want to do these consistently. And now I want to touch on that a little bit at the get-go here. Because I've mentioned before that a big reason for my hiatus recently was because I just didn't feel inspired to do anything. It's a little different than just not feeling like doing anything. It's why I usually say something along the lines of motivation is bullshit, which is why I continue to exercise and eat the way I need to, because I stay disciplined in those affairs. So the idea is, even if I don't want to, I know I need to because it's part of what I want. It's part of my goals. This podcast is now in that realm because I've made it a priority. There's a sense of urgency. It needs to get done. I told myself I was going to do these every Monday, and I'm going to do them. Just because I didn't feel like it doesn't mean I should just skip. Because if I skip once, guess what? It gets easier and easier to skip again and again and again. So while I'm forcing myself to record this, it's not because I lack inspiration. I've got a topic. I promise. It very much goes aligned with what the thumbnail of this podcast episode states, as well as what is effectively my working slogan as a person, which is, I'm not normal. I'm Norman. And I'll get into what that means here in a little bit. But this comes from a place of growing up safe and sheltered. I was raised in a white suburban household, to happily married parents, with no perceived childhood traumas of any kind. I wanted for nothing, and I was lucky enough to work through a degree program that allowed for me to graduate with not only a bachelor's, but a master's degree with zero student loan debt. Now, it was not just handed to me because of my situation. No, I had to work for it. I've probably laid this out before, but the background is simple. While my parents had the money to send me back to school, I did not want to go back to school. In fact, I dropped out of engineering school in 2011, not because I was doing poorly, but because I found out what you actually did. See, initially, I wanted to go and do a bunch of math and a bunch of chemistry and all the engineering stuff that involves a lot of filling up whiteboards, chalkboards, and papers and pamphlets full of sequences, equations, and so on. That's what I was interested in. I wanted to do all the work myself. I wanted to see what it looked like. There was nothing more satisfying to me than filling an entire whiteboard full of mathematical equations and then finding an answer. That was the carrot that motivated me into engineering school, because I really enjoyed the lessons that a very particular teacher, Doreen Peck, Mrs. Peck, she was my college prep pre-calc teacher. She taught me the value of work ethic in academia. And because of her, I wanted to be an engineer because that's what I thought you had to do. You had to work hard. But then I learned two things. I learned one, you sit behind a desk under fluorescent lighting with no natural sunlight, no windows for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, maybe more, depending on the deadline you have to reach. And I also learned that you just plug all the equations into a computer, all the variables. You go beep, boop, bop, and it gives you an answer. So there's no work, really. You're doing work, but it's monotonous, and you're just pressing buttons. You're not actually doing the mathematical stimulus in your own head. The computer took that away. I'm like, no, I'm not going to sit at a desk and do that my whole life. So I dropped out, and I became a trainer. Trust me, my parents were less than thrilled. My mother, to this day, still sends me job applications for other stuff that she deems as safer. And I'll get into that also. But the point is, I had the opportunity to go to school with no cost, and I dropped out because it's not what I wanted. That first quarter, I didn't pay for that. My parents did, and I dropped out because it's not what I wanted for my life. Thus, the beginnings of my slogan, I am not normal, I am Norman. I am me, I am myself, I have my own way of doing things. And so I went on my own and I created my own business. I called it Dexter Custom Fitness. And I have no idea if that's going to be my name moving forward. I haven't used that name in years. But at the time, I really enjoyed that name. And I went out and I started my own business and I did very well. So well, in fact, that I was ready to branch off and start my own thing. And so I was going to go to the bank and get a loan so I could buy the equipment and rent out a space. My parents stopped me and said, before you commit to this, we want to offer you something. I said, okay, what? They said, under 3 conditions, we want to send you back to school for whatever you want. Those 3 conditions are, you have to live with us, you have to maintain a 3.5 or higher for us to continue paying for it, and you cannot work for the first year so that you can maintain that 3.5 GPA. Once you prove you can do that, you can get a job. I couldn't pass this up. So that's what I did. I maintained a 3.9 GPA average throughout all my academic career up until the very end, because main campus UC is far inferior to the Blue Ash campus. Blue Ash campus, I had a 3.9 average. When I got to main campus, it slowly dropped to a 3.69. But I maintained that 3.5 and up. And I graduated with a double bachelor's in food and nutrition and in dietetics. The goal was to become a dietitian. But I soon learned that that's not what I wanted. Again, me choosing my own path. So, finished my bachelor's degree. And I didn't want to become a dietitian for reasons I'm not going to get into, but effectively, it was more protocol, more policy, more follow the rules, or lose your license. Meaning, hey, you see this rule that's been in place since the 80s? Yeah, I don't care how much scientific literature disproves it in the last 5 years. No. I want you to do as you're told. No. I want you to follow this 1988 piece of academic literature that has since been disproven by books of other peer-reviewed literature. I want you to follow that even though it's been disproven. And if you don't, you'll lose your license. If you're wondering what I'm talking about fucking eggs. I'm talking about how the American Dietetics Association, just a few years ago when I was still in school, was still telling people that the cholesterol in the egg yolk gave people high cholesterol. That is emphatically untrue. There are other examples, but that's the one that has been so plainly disproven, but it is still in the American Dietetics Association's website and protocol for their dietitians to follow. The other reason, I'm not going to list the hospital's name, but I went to a tour where they were hiring on interns to become registered dietitians. And on the tour, I went for 2, because I thought I would get more out of it. I'm glad that I did. It was the exact same tour, and the dietetics director was confused to see me again, but I had more questions. I'm very glad I asked this question. I asked her, when do you follow up with the patients? And she looked at me like I had 7 heads, and said she didn't understand the question. Okay, let me rephrase this. Somebody just got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You go in and you give them a few pamphlets and some resources. Hey, here's what your life is like now. In coordination with your doctor and the medication they provide you, here are some lifestyle choices that you can make, changes to your dietary protocol so that you can lead a life flourishing with type 2 diabetes and hopefully reversing it. 15, 20 minutes, and then they leave. When do you get another appointment with them to see how they're doing? And she looked at me and said, you don't. You'll never see that person again. I said, what do you mean? She goes, there are 300 beds and 6 dietitians on staff, and you have to see all of them every day. It's always somebody new. We don't have the staff necessary to work with people on an ongoing basis. You see them for 15, 20 minutes, and then you never see them again. I said, oh, great. Nice to know that I worked all these years to get this degree and licensure just so I could be a Google search. That's neat. And it was then that I realized the only dietitians that can make any real change are the ones that don't actually follow the rules and use their credential to effectively be trustworthy so they can work with people in private practice. And the only people who go to see dietitians in private practice are rich people. Not really a demographic I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach everyone. It's part of the reasons why I do this podcast. I want to reach the average person, okay? The majority of people. I don't mind working with some people that are outliers, but the issue is I want to reach as many people as possible. You cannot do that as a dietitian working in a hospital or some other networked position. And so that's why I didn't become a dietitian. I'm like, well, now what? Well, I got my master's degree because I didn't know what to do. And then I finished my master's degree and spent 6 months applying for jobs in the middle of 2020 on into the beginnings of 2021, and there were no jobs available for me. Somebody with 10 years experience, 2 bachelor's degree, an associate's degree behind that, and then a master's degree in front of it. Why? Because I was overqualified. They didn't want to pay me what I was worth. They wanted somebody with lesser qualifications. That's what they said. That's what I was told in interviews. In fact, many of them were confused as to why I was applying for the job. And I said, well, simply put, there are no jobs. So I'm applying for what's available to me. So I did everything right. Big air quotes there. I did everything I was supposed to. I got the degrees. I applied for the jobs. I customized my cover letter to each individual job. I interviewed very, very well. I actually interviewed the interviewer. I asked questions. I was very interpersonally connected to whoever my interviewer was, and they all praised me for my interviewing skills. The fact of the matter is, they didn't want me because I'm Norman. I'm not normal. I stick out. I was referred to as the black sheep in my dietetics cohort. One of the teachers who I did enjoy, because many of them I did not, and they didn't enjoy me because I asked questions. That's what I was told. The one teacher, there were 2 teachers I liked, but the one that I really enjoyed, the one who later transferred out of the dietetics department to a different school because she couldn't stand it, is she told me that her colleagues referred to me as the black sheep of the group because I asked too many questions. Now, I'm sorry, but if you're in school, okay, you should be asking questions. And if your teacher or professor does not like that you ask questions, they don't deserve the job or the title of teacher or professor or instructor or guide. None of those are acceptable job positions as somebody who prevents you from asking questions. Somebody who censors you from asking questions. No, thank you. This middle finger is to you. Fuck you. Eat shit. School and higher education in general is a place for asking questions and seeking answers. And for you to prevent somebody from doing that, you're a piece of garbage. Remove yourself from that system. And that's my PSA. Any whore. That professor referred to me as the black sheep because I like to ask questions, and I didn't just sit there and take in the information. No. Just like everything else in my life, I didn't just sit there and take it. I didn't just accept it as dogma. I was skeptical, and I found answers on my own. Now, this is a story of my life. This is not me saying you should do this, because you might get fucking fired, and you may have kids to feed, a husband or a wife at home who needs you to help them pay bills. So don't go quitting your job because of some bullshit that spouted from my mouth. I'm telling you my story. I'm telling you why I am not normal, but I am Norman. This is my origin story, if you will. So, I did the safe thing, got my degrees, but I wasn't provided the amazing, wonderful job and career that I was promised. So I had to lean into my own thing, the personal training, once again. And you know what? It worked out pretty well. I'm doing very well for myself. And I'm continuing to do so, and I'm continuing to escalate my goals and achieve those and get further in my life. Wouldn't change it for the world. But again, even though it wasn't the more normal way, I took the safe choice. I did what was expected of me. I figured, all right, I'll give it a try because this is such a good opportunity for me to graduate without debt. I'll give it a go. It's very risk averse. It was very safe, but it was not a calculated risk. It was a very guaranteed safe choice. But in a way, it was a risk because, throughout it all, I thought there was a job at the end of it. At no point did I ever think I was at risk of not having a job. Only after doing all of those things, doing everything that was expected of me, I was promised that job. But that promise was not delivered upon. Because that's not the society we live in. Not anymore. Doesn't matter how many degrees you have. Doesn't matter how much experience you have. Unless you're willing to fall in line and do as you're told and sit there and shut up, they don't want you. They don't want people. They want, what I see people saying, they want sheeple. And I hate that fucking term because people hijack it for the most ridiculous things. But that's really what they want. They want people who will not ask questions, who will not sit there and be skeptics. No. They want people who will do what they're told without question. That's what they want. Who's they? Employers. Mostly corporate employers. With the singular exception being people who work as entrepreneurs or people who work in small businesses. See, they actually give a fuck about you. Employers will pander to you and they will tell you, we care about your mental health. Start your day by making your bed. It's a great way to start your day with a good head and a positive outlook on your mental health. Well, it's funny you say that because just today I got a text from a friend of mine who works in corporate America. And that's the thing she got this morning that said, just make your bed this morning. It's a great way to, start your day off right and have a positive outlook for your mental health. When a year ago, today actually, she told her manager and then her higher up manager, hey, you're talking about going back into the office when we've been working remote for the last 2 years. I can't do that because my mental health is much better served at home. Not for the reasons you may think, but because not one, but 2 people that work for this company have given me the most severe trauma of my life, and I would see them in the office. And that would be extraordinarily triggering for me because of what they did to me. So I would really like it if I could stay working from home where I've been perfectly capable of doing my job these last 2 years. They said, haha, you'll be fine. And then gets an email this morning saying, just make your bed, it'll be fine. Yeah, they really care about her mental health, don't they? These corporate entities take on a life of their own, where it's a diffusion of responsibility, where people are just doing their jobs. Because that's what policy invokes. That's what they're supposed to do to keep their job. And so they become uncaring and indifferent to people's real personal issues. This is what I saw all the time in the 6-year tenure I had at LA Fitness. During that period, I would see general managers that managed the single location that they worked at. Customers would come up to them and say, hey, I just had a surgery, I had this, I had that. Hey, I need to put my thing on hold. Hey, I need to cancel, I've had an issue pop up. All these very good reasons to put their account on hold, to cancel their account, to change something about their account. A personal experience to customize your program, whatever that is, whether it's personal training or your membership. But the issue became those managers, no matter how good they were, no matter how wonderful a person they are, they had to go 2-3 rungs up the managerial ladder to get permission to make any changes on that person's individual contract. Because that's what policy stated. And you know what policy and protocol is for those higher level managers? Allow no change that affects the bottom line. If it lowers your monthly invoice, do not allow it. Unless it is something so glaring that it would be otherwise bad for optics for the person to not get what they're asking for, do not change a fucking thing. In 99 out of 100 cases, the customer will be left up shit's creek without a paddle. SOL, shit out of luck there, bud. Sorry, you wanted to do this thing because your broken foot prohibits you from working out because you lost your job and can't afford to pay it anymore, Well, sorry, fuck you. We don't care. That's what comes off. There's nothing the general manager can do, but guess who gets all the hate? The general manager. Guess who gets all the complaints against him? The general manager. Even though it wasn't their decision, they wanted to help. But the people up the ladder, they didn't want that bottom line affected. And so that's the choice that they made. Rather than make it a personable experience, like a small business would, where you actually know the business owner. You go into a local bakery owned by that small business owner. You can talk to the guy who owns the place, the girl who owns the place, and you're like, hey, I came on hard times. Oh, if that's the case, here, you know what? Here, buy it at just $1 more than it costs me to make it. Here you go. Can't tell you how many times that's happened to me, where I'll be working with somebody, and they're like, I just hit hard times. I'm like, all right, here's what we'll do. You come with this person and this person throughout the week, I'll take $10 off your training price. Save you a little bit of money. And you know what? Let's take it down from an hour to a half hour, and then you can just stay longer than the half hour. I'll give you stuff you already know how to do. That way we can reduce the cost even more, but you can keep coming and you can stay on task. That's the advantage of making it personable. That's the advantage of being your unique self, because then you can approach a situation as you, rather than as this big entity that umbrellas over you, because you work for and are employed by this entity, this organization, this corporation, whatever they are. So, to me, that's very important. And as I said already, I did the right thing and I did the safe thing, and I wasn't given what I was promised. So I started doing what worked best for me. It's why I'm doing this podcast. It's what works best for me. I don't make any money doing this. I just want to do it because it is important to me to make these. Plain and simple. And here's the key with all of this. It's all well and good when it works out, but when shit fucks off and you fail miserably, it sucks. However, you have that old saying, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You do what's safe, you do what's risk averse, well, guess what? You'll muddle along, but you lose out on all the potential successes you could have had. But moreover, you miss out on all the potential fulfillment in purpose. There are a lot of people who work jobs that they hate. There are a lot of people who show up to work for a paycheck. Thankfully, I am not one of those people. What I do for work, it's never monotonous and boring. It's never something I begrudgingly do. I quite enjoy what I do, but I'm lucky in that. Not everybody has that option. They really, really don't. I'm very, very lucky and thankful that I am an outlier in that. And I will say it again. The only reason I ended up where I am is because, again, I'm not normal. I'm Norman. And to me, that's what matters. I will continue to be Norman. And I will not bend the knee to become something I am not. I will always be my true and authentic self. And no one and nothing will ever change that. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. There will be weekly podcasts continue to come out, even if I don't fucking feel like it. Every Monday, I'll record another one, and it'll be released either that night, Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how long it takes for me to edit. But every Monday, I'll make another one of these. So stay tuned. I've got more coming at you. Thank you again for listening. I've been Norman. You've been the DudeCast. And have a great day. Deuce Magoose, and peace out, bitches.
It's time to put hard times behind. Get all the bad things off your mind. He's feeling good, she's feeling good, we're feeling good, yeah. Just hanging out, just having fun, we're number one. Just hanging out, just having fun. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey, I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey. There's nothing better than your friends, there's no problem you can't win. Someone that's always got your back, not caring about this or that. Just hanging out, just having fun, we're number one. Just hanging out, just having fun. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey, I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey, I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey, I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey. all about meeting new faces. The smiles on your face and you can't erase it. Partying on, it's going on, huh? Partying on till the break of dawn. Oh, it's time to put hard times behind. Get all the bad things off your mind. Just hanging out, just having fun. We're number one. Just hanging out, just having fun. Just hanging out, just having fun. We're number one. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes.